Director, Operations and Flight Inspection Division. He's a member of the Information Management Panel in ICAO and works on implementing SWIM in Japan. Let us welcome Mr. Yuko Nobu-san on stage now to present on Scenario 8.
Thank you. This is a final presentation, final demonstration of this ASEAN SWIM demonstration. So let's get started. Scenario 8. This is a brief overview of Scenario 8. The operation process of this scenario is based on the FFI's implementation guidance, which is discussing in ICAO ATM requirements and performance panel, ATM RPP, to support collaborative pre-departure flight planning among stakeholders by using machine-to-machine information exchanges. FFI stands for Flight and Flow Information for a Collaborative Environment. In this scenario, there are three actors. JCAB and FAA are both FFI's enabled ATM service providers. We call such a service provider EASP. And also, ANA is FFI's enabled airspace users. We call EAU. We will demonstrate a flight plan coordination process of ANA 6 service from Narita to Los Angeles under the SWIM environment. You can see some people on this slide, but again, please keep in mind that information exchanges in FFIs is basically made by automated machine-to-machine information exchanges. It is not a manual human work. And also, this ANA6 flight uses the same airframe as ANA812, which arrives at Narita from Hong Kong International Airport. Therefore, as explained in Scenario 7, the progress of these two scenarios overlaps in time. And before demonstrating this scenario, I would like to explain the necessity of FFIs. At first, let's think about our future sky. As you know, all air traffic growth in Asia-Pacific region is so significant, with some estimates that it will be approximately double by 2030. ATC communication between the controller and pilot is essential to ensure the safety of air traffic. However, as shown in this slide example, there are a lot of communications that are not necessary. ATC communication has a direct impact on airspace capacity. It can be easily understood that if the ATC communication per unit time exceeds a certain volume, it will be physically difficult to handle more air traffic. That's why too much unnecessary voice communication will cause reduction in airspace capacity. Next, let's consider why there are too much voice communications. One of the reasons is bad visibility for a flight. For flight planning, flight dispatcher of airline have to check so much ATM-related information, such as NOTAMs, weather, and information contained in state's AIP. Such an information is exchanging in human-readable text format under the legacy environment, so they have to read it, understand it, and finally they can use it. And some information does not publish in global standard method, so airspace user cannot reflect it to their flight planning in a timely manner. There was no problem in this way if it was 50 years ago. But today, the amount of those information and air traffic are increasing rapidly, and it is approaching the limit of human processing. You may know that the increase in no terms is significant. If it goes on, you may miss important information. In other words, you can say that it may be a risk for a flight. Today, we don't have advanced process to reduce those risks other than coordination by controllers. That's why ATC must provide so many coordination and related instructions. We are heavily depending on ATC. C of ATC stands for control, not coordination. To reduce too much dependency on ATC, we need to act in two phases, pre-departure phase and post-departure phase. For pre-departure phase, flight planning agreed by airspace users and ATM service providers is necessary. After that, post-departure phase, we need update and sharing the flight plan in real time. FFI's operation in this scenario is focused on this pre-departure phase. We call this phase FFI's Release 1, collaborative activities to create agreed flight planning between airspace users and ATM service provider. And for the agreed flight planning, how do you achieve it? Let's review today's flight plan. The principle of today's flight plan was developed in the 1960s. We are still using these ideas for more than 50 years. Today's flight plan is human-readable text format and using old technologies such as AFDM. And due to technical limitations, the number of characters that can be used is limited to 1,800. So this is not enough for negotiation in FFI's operation. The solution is to use the digitalized flight plan. For tomorrow, we will use XML-based digitalized flight plan and modern internet-based technologies, that is SWIM. Because we don't have to worry about character restrictions, we can add a lot of information such as geographical coordination, passing altitude of aircraft, and speed, and so on, as flight-related information into the flight plan. Please pay attention to him in front of you. Here is a print of XML-based flight plan. Will be used in this demonstration. 8 sheets of A4 papers. Normally, this is not used for printing, but this time I printed it for just comparison. On the other hand, this is current flight plan. There are only 14 lines. You can understand the difference in the amount of information contained in digital-based flight plan. Thank you. This slide briefly explains the XM format messages used in this demonstration. This message is used for communication between the ATM service provider and airspace user. However, this communication takes place between systems automatically, and this is not visible to us. So I would like to briefly explain the message movement in the next few slides. The first is preliminary flight plan. Preliminary flight plan is a flight plan submitted prior to filing in order to collaboratively plan a flight. This preliminary flight plan is submitted by airspace users to relevant ATM service provider under the SWIM environment. After this submission, ATM service provider systems checks the data conformance and replies whether acknowledge or reject as submission response. Acknowledge is no problem, but if the data does not meet the requirement, reject is returned from ATM service provider system and no further processing is performed in ATM service provider system. On the other hand, if acknowledge is returned, one more reply that we call planning status will be replied to airspace users. In this case, either concur, non-concur, or negotiate will be answered in the planning status message. When either non-concur or negotiate is returned, the reason is also included in the message. The next is filed flight plan. Filed flight plan is a flight plan submitted as a request for air traffic services. Message exchanges are almost same as in case of preliminary flight plan. Only the difference is reply from ATM service provider in the filing status message. In this case, either acceptable or not acceptable will be replied, just like a yes or no. The next is flight plan update. Flight plan update is update to information in a previously submitted flight plan. That's why message exchange patterns are same as in case of filed flight plan. The last is trial request. Trial request is a query to evaluate a possible alternative or change to a flight plan. These message exchanges are part of evaluation process of airspace user regarding to a certain flight which preliminary flight plan or filed flight plan is already existing. And these message exchanges are not directly impacted actual flight as same as preliminary flight plan. So message exchanges patterns are same as in case of preliminary flight plan. Again, these data exchanges are not visible to us because they are performed between the systems, highly automated systems. Only the result is displayed on the left and right screen on our understanding. Left-hand screen, in this demonstrate, this shows the flight planning system functions in the airlines, in this case, ANA FOC. And right-hand screen shows the ATM service provider's process. Okay, let's move on to the final actual demonstration. 12 hours before departure, after careful consideration of potential flight constraints and the necessary payload, ANA FOC system creates optimized flight trajectory consistent with their business objectives and priorities. This trajectory is submitted as a preliminary flight plan by a SWIM to the relevant EASPs, JCAB and FAA. When JCAB and FAA receive the preliminary flight plan message, at first, each system checks the format of message. If the message can be processed, the system returns the submission response and acknowledge to ANA FOC. The submission response does not indicate any level of approval by EASPs, but only indicates that the message received can be processed and will be acted upon. From ANA screen, you can see ANA system received a submission response with acknowledge from JCAB and also FAA. Submission response, acknowledge. Then JCAB and the FAA system checks the constraints in responsible airspace, Fukuoka FIR and Oakland FIR, and both returns the planning status with Concur to ANA. Concur means that the flight plan with the proposed trajectory will be acceptable without the need modification. From the ANA screen, you can see the ANA system received the planning status of Concur from FAA and JCAB. Preliminary, JCAB replies Concur, and also FAA replies Concur. A short while later, ANA FOC receives a digital NOTAM from FAA via SWIM that a large, previously unknown stationary altitude reservation that conflicts with the flight ANA 6 has been scheduled in Oakland FIR. And at the same time, ANA FOC receives negotiate message from FAA. This means that the route change to avoid reserved airspace is highly recommended by FAA. So, ANA FOC submit a trial request to a revised route and that avoid reserved airspace. Since the requested changes affect both Fukuoka and Oakland airspace, the trial request must be sent to both JCAB and also FAA. Please recall that trial request is a what-if evaluation of a potential change of existing flight does not impact the data already present. Both JCAB and FAA replies a submission response with acknowledge, and almost at the same time, ANA received a segment message from FAA, and the area of segment affects the flight route in submitted trial request. So, FAA replies non-concur and provides feedback pointing out the proposed trajectory traverses the airspace impacted by adverse weather. As a result of non-concur. In response to the non-concur message from FAA, ANA FOC submit a second trial request to JCAB and FAA with an alternative trajectory that is better from their fleet management perspective to avoid both reserved airspace and also segment area. Both JCAB and FAA reply with a submission response of acknowledge and trial response of concur. Again, this means that route is acceptable without the need for any modification. Unfortunately, there are many constraints on this way. ANA 6 seems to have to choose a route that is much more detour than the optimal route. Option on optimal route, yeah. The coordination between airspace users and the ATMS service provider is over, and it's time to file ANA 6 flight plan. ANA submit a filed flight plan to FAA and JCAB, the same route with the coordinated second trial request, avoiding all constraints. From the ANA screen, you can see the update route in flight plan, filed flight plan that was same as successfully trial requested. JCAB and FAA received flight plan and both replies submission response of acknowledge. And also, then JCAB and the FAA then evaluate the filed flight plan in their system and reply the filing status acceptable. This is a filed flight plan. And due to the delay of ANA 812 caused by the adverse weather in Hong Kong FIR and long queue at the Hong Kong airport, and some volcanic ash activities in Fukuoka FIR, as demonstrated in the previous scenario 7, the departure time of ANA 6 using the same airframe is affected. In this case, FFI's-enabled airspace user can evaluate in advance how the delay of the previous flight will affect the next flight. This is an effective tool for airspace users' decision making. In this scenario, 1 hour departure delay of ANA 6 is considered in ANA FOC. ANA evaluates again the ANA 6 filed flight plan with a possible new estimate departure time and estimate that the reserved airspace may not be active, may not be active when ANA 6 will be in the vicinity. As a result, ANA FOC decides to return the more efficient originally desired trajectory and submit a trial request with a new departure time and a route that matches the initial route. Both JCAB and FAA reply with a submission response acknowledge and then a trial response with concur. Finally, ANA FOC submit filed flight plan update containing a new departure time and a flight route to revised flight route to JCAB and FAA. Both JCAB and FAA respond to the flight plan update with a submission response of acknowledge and filing status acceptable. ANA 6 departure was delayed due to late arrival of previous flight, but thanks to FFIs, the most efficient flight route could be selected with highly automated process. This is a benefit of FFIs, not only FFIs, but also all the SIM related today's demonstration. Agreed flight trajectory will be created by implementing FFI's operation. The first may start with a single ASP or airspace users. However, as the number of participating airspace users increases, the demand estimation accuracy will be further improved. If continuous monitoring of air traffic seems to break the balance between demand and capacity, various ATFM solutions, as demonstrated in today, will be implemented in collaboration with airspace users. CDM will also change individual flights and the ATFM intents. Once again, the turn of FFIs will come. The circles will be balanced, demand and capacity. There is no order in this circle. We can start from anywhere. The important thing is to turn this in the same direction so as not to move backwards. The power of swim will bring the goal closer to us. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, JCAB, for the very detailed presentation. So we've now come to the end of the scenario demonstration. Would you have any questions for JCAB, Mr. Yokunobu-san? All right, so we'll move on to the next part, which is inviting the core team to show what lessons learned in preparing and building the environment and systems needed for this swim demonstration. Representing the core team is our very own David Liao. David, please.
Thank you. It's me again. I noticed, well, I know we're coming to the end of the day and it's Friday, so I'll keep this as short as possible. So a little bit of background about where we are, and Amo corrected me on this. We actually started this journey in 2014. 2014, we did Mini Global 1, and Mini Global 2 was in 2016. And in there, the two of us, we started to learn more about swim and the gems for swim delivery. So we saw for ourselves the operational benefits that swim could bring. And as mentioned numerous times, these are our objectives for the demonstration, that we want to bring the concept of swim to this region, the gems for swim delivery, and to show operational benefits. Now, we wanted to show how today's operation of multinodal ATFM can be made better, and that there are distinct and tangible operational benefits for with more efficient information sharing that swim brings, and the feasibility of this new GEMS architecture. Wait a minute, why isn't this working? Right. So over these last 2 years, we had many web meetings and face-to-face, 4 face-to-face meetings. And they were essential for us to trash out the details for building the necessary infrastructure as well as the operational scenarios for this demonstration. We had our first technical interchange meeting in April 2018, and we sent the call out for participation to all the ASEAN member states. And at that time, we only limited it to our ASEAN member states. Then we did the presentation to inform the SWIM task force about this demonstration, and from there, we got a lot of keen interest from various other Asia-Pacific states, and that resulted in us including, well, today you see Hong Kong, China, Japan, USFA, all in this together with us in this expanded demonstration. Then we started crafting our operational scenarios and identified those swim services necessary to support the scenarios that you saw today. And by the time we hit Team 3, we were already able to run some of the dry run scenarios and work on the refinements in preparation for today's demonstration. We were not there yet. At Team 3, we were still arguing about message routing and message transfers. But in the end, we sorted that out by that time. So what have we achieved? I think we can safely say, today we built up the SWIM architecture that comprises of one privately supplied L3 Harris EMS, 3 ANSP plus vendor supplied EMSs from Japan, Hong Kong, and Malaysia, and 2 ANSP built EMSs from Aerothai and CAS. We have shown that the efficiencies that multinodal ATFM can gain from SWIM, and demonstrated how SWIM supports future ops like long-range ATFM, TBO, and FFIs. And we have shown the potential operational gains because of these new concepts, ultimately demonstrating SWIM's value in supporting these types of operations. So, what now? This demonstration obviously shows much can be gained from SWIM implementation, and that much more can be gained from information sharing. These scenarios are just some of the examples that we came up with to show you how SWIM can support operations already in place today, as well as future operations concepts. our region relies heavily on cooperation and collaboration. SWIM makes it easier. We discovered that the technology to implement SWIM is not hard. It's been around for 15 years. The banks have done it, the medical industry have done it, the pharmaceutical industry has done it. We are one of the last few industries to be impacted by information technology change, or I would use a term my officers say, disrupted. So because information technology have disrupted all the previous industries 10 years prior. So, like I said, technology is not hard. There are many private entities that are able to do it. But to get global harmonization and interoperability, that will take a lot of work. So, I'm not sure if I've said it before, but this demonstration is an idealized case. We've made many assumptions when we're putting together this demonstration. For example, we assume that the information services are there, we assume that IT security is taken care of, and that SWIM governance is all in place. There are still quite a number of missing pieces in this demonstration that you don't see. We don't have a SWIM registry. Not for this demonstration, it was unnecessary. We don't have a consistent SWIM governance model, and the IT security framework, of course, like I said before, was assumed to be there. So this is what we're trying to show you. We're trying to show you what happens when you've got SWIM already implemented. All these things you don't have to see, but all these things are necessary for SWIM to be successful. So where do we go? Most of you, if not all of you, are part of the ICAO's Asia Pacific SWIM Task Force. This task force has been given, the task to implement SWIM. I hope that you would take the lessons learned here and your own perspective, and we go back, think about it, prepare papers to be presented at the task force meeting. Amo and myself, you can be assured, we will be preparing the general lessons learned from this particular demonstration and take it to the task force, and we will also take the architecture that we've developed for this demonstration and propose it as a candidate architecture for the task force and to be implemented for SWIM in Asia Pacific region. But I would encourage all of you, please, if we want to hear what your perspectives are, what your hopes are, and what your vision is for SWIM in Asia Pacific in the future. So with that, I would ask Mr. Blackhouse to come up and introduce IATA's perspective on SWIM, because nothing better than to get the airspace users' perspective on future concepts.
Thank you very much, David, and thank you very much to you and Amo and Aerotai and CAAS for your individual and organisational leadership roles in bringing this together. Some of you who were in Bangkok earlier in the week may recognise some of the themes of what I'm saying, but it was particularly heartening for me to hear Li Peng feedback some of the statistics that we've been talking about in terms of the size of the aviation market. I was talking with Elizabeth earlier, and she remarked that in the 6 years she's known me, my hair has turned very white. And I was slightly devastated because I thought I was hiding it well. But what turned the hair white? I think it's the pending growth and how we manage the traffic in Asia Pacific. So it's white with a purpose. I think you know who IATA, who we are now, but 297 airlines at last count and 82-83% of global air traffic. We're here to represent, lead and serve the airline industry. And I think I like putting the vision up, because working together to shape the future growth of a safe, secure and sustainable air transport industry that connects and enriches our world. I think the together bit is probably the theme of today. And we've seen some meaningful collaboration amongst a very diverse variety of stakeholders. And that's particularly gratifying and heartening, and might help turn some of my hair back to its natural lustrous colour. As Li Peng reminded us, And last year, every day in 2018, 12 million passengers were taking a journey on 104,400 flights, and $18.2 billion worth of goods were carried. Extremely high value of cargo carried along with a huge number of passengers on a huge number of flights. We all know that demand for air travel, even under relatively conservative scenarios, is forecast to double over the next 20 years and probably slightly sooner in Asia Pacific. And that means that by the time we reach 2038, 6 of the world's top 10 aviation markets are going to be in the Asia Pacific region. And even if a particular state isn't one of those top 10 markets, all the states in this room are adjacent to those markets and are going to be having aircraft transiting, coming to from the growth areas. So the region as a whole is facing unprecedented demand and growth. And again, just highlighting that the domestic markets in this part of the world are also going to be the preeminent ones by the end of the 2030s, 6 out of the top 10 domestic markets in Asia Pacific. All that's important because at the moment, Asia Pacific, or within Asia Pacific, air transport supports 30.2 million jobs and generates $684 worth of GDP across the region. And again, very, very significant. This comes, though, as industry profit margins are under pressure. And this is my favourite slide for sort of trying to make the point about the profitability of the air transport industry. If you see the forecast return there for Asia Pacific per passenger net profit, Asia Pacific this year forecast to be $3.50 US. So for every time you're on an aircraft, if you look around and think that the airline has provided you with a service from A to B, quite possibly a meal and something to drink, a nice airframe, something to watch, and for you and everyone around you, they're making $3.50 US. That's quite a sobering figure, and I think shows the challenge. So that's why initiatives like this to more efficiently manage the traffic, to accommodate that growth, and to eke out efficiencies wherever they can be gained is very, very important. So I just wanted to go over those high-level reasons again about why initiatives like this are so important for IATA, particularly in the region. I think David had a very nice bullet point saying that to do anything in this region, collaboration and cooperation are critical. And it's great to see an example of this, not only amongst the states of ASEAN and some of the adjacent states, but also involving industry as well. Just for some final concluding comments on behalf of the industry, I'm very pleased to be able to introduce my Senior Vice President in charge of safety and flight operations from our Montreal office, Mr. Gilberto Lopez-Maya. Gilberto is a pilot and a lawyer, and in the IATA definition, being a pilot means you're handsome, and being a lawyer means you're right. So you're going to hear from someone who's very handsome and always right, and totally unrelated to the fact that it's performance appraisal time. So, Gilberto.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Blair. So, I'm very pleased to be in Singapore today as part of the Asian Swim Demo project, because one of our core values in IATA is precisely that we partner for mutual benefit. We are all important stakeholders in the international aviation value chain, and we must work together to ensure its sustainability, both in terms of economic and environmental performance. So, as the air traffic numbers increase over the next 20 years, none of us can afford to stand still, and IATA is committed to working with all of you as we explore and develop ways of modernizing our industry, whilst always being mindful of the twin objectives of increasing both safety and efficiency, of course. So one good example of this is partnering for mutual benefit in the partnership with L3Harris that we did in the development of delivery of SkyFusion. We are very proud to see SkyFusion deploy here today in this demonstration, providing connectivity for various agencies to the Global Enterprise Messaging System, GEMS. The Sky Fusion platform enables real-time operational communication and data exchange between ATM stakeholder segments. It provides also situational awareness to optimize planning and help avoid ATM system constraints. Sky Fusion also enables sharing of data across systems from multiple stakeholders in international recognized SWIM standard format and enables simpler integration for applications, lowering associated development costs. Sky Fusion is, because of that, a great example of different parts of the industry coming together to provide solutions, not just list problems. This week's demonstrations are important because as airspace users, we very much understand and value the importance of information. To truly be an asset, that information must have the attributes of being relevant, complete, accurate, trusted, current, and shared. The development of system-wide information management solutions provides new opportunities to exploit all of those attributes. SWIM provides many potential benefits for airspace users. Stakeholders will enjoy greater access to timely and meaningful information for decision-making support. SWIM provides richer and more timely information that will create a scope for more autonomy in decision-making, including the ability to better provide input to strategic and pre-tactical conflict management solutions through demand capacity balancing and airport collaborative decision-making. It should enable greater equity in airspace access, and we envisage more visibility and transparency of information so that all parties can be treated equally when determining access and priorities. The ability to have timely and better informed decision-making means that the airlines will be better equipped to deliver their desired business outcomes. So this week, we have seen a very well-organized and run Asian SWIM demo project. It has been a great example of multiple states and industry working together to improve information sharing and ATM decision-making in a system-wide collaborative environment for the benefit of the whole aviation system. So I look forward for the next steps on this exciting journey. To everyone involved, on behalf of IATA, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blair and Mr. Mayor. With that, it's enlightening to hear how our airspace users are looking forward with SWIM implementation. And with that, to finally give the ANSP views on things, I would like to invite our Director General, Mr. Kevin Shum, to give his perspective on SWIM and the closing remarks, please. DG, please.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for having me. Blair, I've known you for 4 years. In that 4 years, yes, your hair has turned white, but at least you still have your hair. Good evening, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, friends and colleagues. Thank you once again for coming to Singapore for the SWIM demonstration. Many of you were in Bangkok earlier this week, and I trust that over the period, people have had the opportunity to get to know each other better, make new friends, renew old friendships. I'd like to first take this opportunity to thank the project team and the participants, especially our friends from the FAA, from IATA, and especially our co-lead, Aerotai, that's led by Tinagon. This demonstration would not have been possible without everybody's significant contribution. In the aviation business, the more information we have, the better our operational performance. And that's the importance for SWIM. SWIM will be the important next step in harvesting more information for our community to achieve greater predictability and optimization. It is a key enabler for our vision of seamless skies. During this demonstration, we saw the potential for SWIM to bring benefits to our current operations and in particular multinodal ATFM. And once SWIM is fully implemented in this region, these benefits can be realized for all of us. We also saw how future operational concepts like FFICE and TBO can be supported with SWIM. Early access to information means that the best routes can be planned and used, opening the door towards more efficient use of airspace, airline and airport resources, and better sustainability for our environment. We have also learned about the things we need to make SWIM work, including the technology for information exchange, application of the ICAO data models, and getting agreement on message routing. In future, the very large amounts of data that SWIM will bring means that there is another potential application in terms of using big data analytics to find further efficiencies for our airspace systems. So, if we pool our resources and our expertise together to continue this research, there is a lot of benefit for all of us. Just like how this SWIM demonstration was put together through interagency cooperation, implementing SWIM in our region will require even closer collaboration among everybody in our community. We will need to continue to be open to share information. We need people to share and contribute ideas on how this information can be managed in the SWIM environment. Most of all, we will need leaders in the aviation community to commit to implementing SWIM if we are to benefit from SWIM. SWIM, by its very nature, cannot be implemented by only one entity. Its benefits increase exponentially the more participants it has. We will have to implement SWIM through multilateral collaboration. And here, we're very pleased that ICAO Asia Pacific Regional Office has already established a SWIM task force, and I would encourage everyone to participate actively to ensure that the issues identified are addressed. I hope that you have been excited by this week's work and what you have seen in the demonstration, as well as the potential benefits of SWIM. Actually, this demonstration is only the beginning. It shows us a picture of what to aim for as we work towards the full implementation of SWIM in our Asia-Pacific region. It gives us a possible working SWIM architecture to start from, but that itself is a milestone. It's an important milestone. But going forward, the real work will have to start. Thank you very much.
Thank you, DG. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our demonstration. Let us give another round of applause to the presenters who have presented today, as well as the people who helped to make these demonstrations possible, even the ones who are in US. I hope they are still not awake. So we have come to the end of the demonstration. I wish you all a pleasant journey home, safe flight, and thank you.